Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here, and today I want to talk to you about what to do with your 3D reality. So I've got some questions recently about, how do you deal with 3D reality when you see something or know something or experience something that you don't prefer, that you don't like. And it sends you spiraling in this sort of negative emotion spiral. What do you do? So let's talk about it. So with the 3D reality, as much as possible, you want to just leave it alone. You want to just be like, okay. And then I know that you can hear things. I know that you can find things out. I know that you can experience things that could potentially look like they are hurtful or feel hurtful, or you're having some sort of emotional reaction to them. And that's a perfectly normal human thing to do. So do not be hard on yourself if that is what you are doing and experiencing. But after that initial wave of pain, or that initial wave of annoyance, or that initial wave of anger, whatever feeling you're having because of what you've experienced in the 3D reality, you have a choice about what you're going to do next. And if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, I'm a big proponent of self-soothing. So you can choose to do that next. But you can also just kind of be neutral about it. And I'm talking about even to your own reaction to yourself. So let's say that you had a non-preferred circumstance happen in the 3D reality that's on the topic of your manifestation. So you're manifesting back an ex, and you hear that they are talking to someone else, and that creates some sort of painful response in you. One, you're going to let that be neutral in the 3D reality. You can have that emotional response. You can feel some kind of way about it. But after that initial kind of wave of pain and regret, the only way to keep that going is for you to be telling yourself a story that means something to you, and it means something for your manifestation. And you don't have to pick that up. You don't have to focus on that story. You can just say okay, well, I found that out, and that I had some pain, and that's okay. I'm a human. I'm going to continue to focus on what I want, my preferred reality in my internal world. You're going to leave your ex alone. If you have to see him to pick up the kids or whatever, you're going to do that without any fuss. You're just going to go do it. And then you're going to return to your internal world, and you're going to soothe yourself if you need to. And then you're going to focus on what it is you want. And the reality that you want is being back together in a loving, committed relationship, if that's what you're manifesting. And you go to that end in your imagination, in your visualization, in your focusing method. And then you go about the rest of your day, the rest of your life, like normal. Now, if that feeling of pain or those thoughts come back up again, what should you do? You can sort of investigate internally inside of yourself. Why am I feeling this way? What do I believe this means? Now, with something like this, if you hear your person is talking to someone else, you probably are telling yourself some sort of version of, they don't love me anymore, they don't like me anymore, we can't get back together because they're talking to this new person, they prefer this other person over me. Some version of that, probably. And underneath that, it goes even deeper, because honestly, what this person does and doesn't do, it probably doesn't really matter. I mean, I know that that's your manifestation and that's what you want, but underneath that story that you're telling yourself about this third party and what they're doing is some sort of version of, I'm not worthy, I'm not who they want, I'm not loved. And so if you go to that core sort of feeling and soothe that, because you are worthy and you are loved, and then you soothe that, then that can take care of that pain feeling, that sort of very painful feeling. And then once you get that settled about how worthy you are, how loved you are in your own internal world, then what your person does in the 3D reality, I'm not saying it's never going to hurt, but it's going to be a lot easier to get over and to sort of self-soothe. And then you're also going to remind yourself that you create your reality from your internal world. And so when you go back there, it doesn't really matter what's happening right now in the 3D reality. You can still get your manifestation, and you want to remind yourself of that. So I just wanted to share that with you today about what to do when the 3D reality shows you something that you don't prefer and that maybe has some sort of painful element to you. And that's what I suggest you do. So sort of just accept it. Be like, okay, that's the situation. Have those initial feelings. Okay, this is the way I feel. That's human. That's normal. That's okay. Why do I feel this way? Sort of stay curious about why you're feeling that way and get really sort of investigate what story it is you keep repeating to yourself, especially if those feelings keep coming back up over and over again after that initial wave. And then you're going to refocus yourself in your internal world on getting what you want in your manifestation, and not just getting what you want, but even like soothing some of those key foundational beliefs that you could be not noticing, like you are worthy and you are loved. So that's just the recap. Thank you so much for listening, and with that, may you manifest exactly what you want.